Welcome to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy. Now here's your host, Tim McMahon.
All this week, all topics on all episodes have been submitted by listeners like you. Thank you to everyone who sent an idea my way. I apologize that I can't get to them all. I'm going to start this week with a relatively easy one. The gang over at the Blast Points podcast, a great show, please be sure to check it out, asked me what are my top 5 odd Ben Burt sound effects. Well, I'm going to interpret the word odd to mean the more uncommon Star Wars sound effects. When you think of Star Wars sound effects, things like lightsabers and blasters, Vader's breathing, and R2-D2's beeps and chirps come to mind. So instead, here's my list of other Star Wars sound effects that I particularly love.
Number 1.
Oh, R2, we'll be wandering this desert forever.
This sound effect is very subtle, and in fact, you may have never even noticed it before. I'm not sure it really came through in that sound clip, but what I'm talking about is 3PO's servo motors. Every time C-3PO moves, there's a little mechanical whine. Honestly, most people don't even realize it's there, or, after years of rewatching Star Wars, it just kind of fades in the background. In fact, I think it's one of those things I really didn't notice until later in life. Anyway, I love this sound effect because, in a way, it's a great world-building tool, and it also really adds to the character. So much so, in fact, that if you're ever lucky enough to see a 3PO cosplayer, and they're pretty rare, no matter how great they are, you will feel that the droid is actually a bit wrong. There's something off. And that's because you're missing the sound you've grown accustomed to hearing whenever you see everyone's favorite protocol droid. Just goes to show you the tiniest details can make a world of difference.
Number 2.
Another droid sound that I love is the Imperial probe droid from Empire Strikes Back, specifically when it's quote-unquote talking. I can't do it any justice, but oddly, I can't say why I love this little bit of noise, but it's something that I've carried with me ever since childhood. And in fact, maybe that's why I love Star Wars so much. It's just that little part of childhood, that good part that I'm able to carry around with me even to this day. Anyway, self-analysis aside, the sound is oddly menacing to me, and I don't know why. It's not cliche, it's not what you would think of as a scary noise, but once you hear it, you know the rebels are screwed. And in a way, isn't that what Empire is all about? The good guys being put in a bad place? So in a way, this cool sound sums up a cool movie perfectly.
Number 3.
This noise isn't the speeder bike, but rather that hoot in the background. Here, have another listen. As a kid, to me, this noise has always been part of the background. It's a natural sound from the forest moon of Endor. Maybe it's a startled bird or a frightened animal jumping out of the way, because forests are not that quiet, you know. So this touch of wildlife is a great addition to the atmosphere. But I'm actually probably wrong about this. To me, it isn't a mechanical sound from the speeder bike. But because the sound effect gets recycled all the time in other Star Wars projects, most recently in an episode of Rebels, you will hear this Endor hoot, as I like to call it, in other places when the speeder bike is in use. And if you rewatch the entire speeder bike chase scene again, you'll notice the hoot is in there a lot. So it probably is a sound coming from the bike. But in my childhood memory, in my headcanon, that's the noise of nature.
Number 4.
Not a sound effect per se, but one of Ben Burt's greatest skills was the creation of languages in the Star Wars films. And though they may not be as fleshed out and quote-unquote real as, say, Klingon or Dothraki or Elvish, the Star Wars languages feel real, and that's what counts. I'm particularly fond of Jawaese. Hey, there's a reason I end each episode with an Utini after all. Here's what the venerable Wikipedia has to say about Jawaese. Quote, Ben Burt developed the language for the Star Wars saga. He was drawn to several African languages, in particular Zulu. After recording several individuals who spoke Zulu, Burt wrote a script patterned on the various sounds he heard and then had actors revoice them for the films. The recordings were then sped up to raise the pitch and accelerated the flow of words to give us the Jawa language with which we are familiar today. Unquote. So, think about it. Ben Burt didn't use foreign language speakers to record lines. He would write gibberish based on foreign languages and then have other people record them and tweak them. Genius.
Number 5.
Okay, this one's a bit of a cheat. Ben Burt did not create what is now referred to as the Wilhelm scream, but he perfected the art of slipping it into so many great movies. Not just Star Wars movies, not just Lucasfilm movies. You can now find the Wilhelm scream all over the place. It's become a cultural touchstone. It's something that, when I hear it in a movie, my ears perk up and a smile crosses my face. Some may argue that it's overused, but I disagree. I love it. And I can't tell you how upset I was that it wasn't used in Rogue One. Hey, don't believe the people out there who claim they heard it in the movie, because it wasn't there. Matthew Wood, aka Ben Burt 2.0, has confirmed that they did not use the Wilhelm scream in that movie. Well, there you go. Those were kinda my top 5 Ben Burt sound effects. My thanks to the Blast Point podcast for the topic idea, and my apologies to them for not quite fully answering the question. So let me put it to you. What are your favorite Ben Burt sound effects without picking something too obvious? I want to know. Email me at 12parsecs.podcast@gmail.com or connect with me on any of my social media accounts. All the links can be found on the website 12parsecs.podcast.com. Thanks for listening. Ootini!
You've been listening to Less Than 12 Parsecs, the fastest Star Wars podcast in the galaxy, part of the expanded Fandomverse network of shows. For links and show notes, visit our website, 12parsecsPodcast.com. Follow Less Than 12 Parsecs on Twitter at 12parpod, on Instagram at 12parsecsPodcast, on Tumblr at 12parsecsPodcast, and find us on Facebook as well. And please let us know what you think. Email us at 12parsecsPodcast@gmail.com.